Hello, everyone. Let me know, please, if I don't think this thing's working right now, but we'll see here. As always, welcome to Friday with Wendler. Let me know with a thumbs up or a something in the comments or in the chat section that if this is working. I would really appreciate that because something doesn't look right on my screen, so I'm not sure this is actually playing. So please let me know. And we will start with the Q&A. I got a couple questions here. So I'm just going to wait around a little bit and bore the hell out of everyone here. And I'll just wait. There we go, Adrian. Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to start off. I don't know if this is, hopefully I can remember to do this. Thank you, Adrian. In order to kick this off, I'm just going to feature one or two bands that I think need to get some acknowledgement. So it's not going to be like Metallica and Pantera or anything like that. The first band is out of Indianapolis. They are no longer around. They are called Coffin Worm, and this is their final full length. I'm not sure when this came out, probably 2015 or something, I don't know. But this is called, it's a Roman numerals, but it translates to 418, I believe. Their first full length, guys, is called When All Become None. It is unbelievable. It is a mixture of like doom, sludge, and black metal. If you love the band Kraft, they're very Kraft-esque in their black metal riffs. At least that's what it sounds like to me. Unbelievable. The singer is unbelievable too. I heard a funny statement about what Coffin Worm sounds like, and someone said it sounds like I Hate God with gauntlets. Gauntlets meaning like black metal, you know, spikes and stuff. So like, again, Coffin Worm, this is their final and second full length. I still think their first one is better, When All Become None, but there's nothing, this is still pretty awesome. The second band, if you were into heavy music in the 90s, you would have heard these guys. It's Will Haven. This is their first full length, I believe. I think this came out in maybe 96 or something like that. Their second album, which is WHVN, it looks like Will Haven, but done as a radio call signal. I think that is the best one. The two things that Will Haven have that I think separate them is, one, their singer Grady. I don't remember his last name, but is an unbelievable singer. I mean, he can shred. I don't know how he still talks. And the next one is Jeff Irwin, their guitarist. He's got one of the most recognizable guitar tones. In fact, when I heard, some of you guys might remember the band called it the Abominable, is that what it is? Abominable Iron Sloth. I remember hearing that band for the first time. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are ripping off the Will Haven sound. It just so happens that Jeff Irwin played in the Abominable Iron Sloth. I don't know what the timeline is but that was, I think, in the 90s or early 2000s or something. If you want an awesome sludged out, heavier and fuck album, Abominable Iron Sloth, their first one, is unbelievable. I think it still holds up massively today, as does all the Will Haven and the Coffin Worm stuff. So check those bands out if you're into some heavy music and want something a little different. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and get started, guys. As always, if you have a question, please ask in the chat. Oh my God, I just did some stadiums today, nice and easy. I got a hugely busy day today. So anyway, here we go. First question. Good morning, boss man. You guys know how to get in my pants. All right, I'm 6 foot, 260 pounds, former college linebacker, still lifting, but slowing down and heavy. How much water to drink per day and what type of nutrition? I love steak. Thank you. Okay, so I'm not an expert in nutrition, and I think I've talked about this many times. It seems like every diet fad, whatever, always seems to have science backing it up. So whatever you like, you got something, some kind of science to prove your point. So that always makes me skeptical. So When I initially lost a ton of weight from when I was powerlifting to when I stopped powerlifting, the first thing I did was I controlled, or two things. I controlled my portions, which not everyone can do, so I just ate less. And the number two thing was, once I started losing weight and I kind of came to a standstill with the portions, I just started doing something very, very simple. And what it was I could eat as many times a day as I wanted, but every meal had to be some kind of protein and then either some kind of fruit or some kind of vegetable. That was it. And I think I took a probiotic or something like that. And I think I took fish oils, maybe one at every meal or something like that. So that made things a little easier for me. I didn't count calories. I just basically cut out all the carbs and just eat, eggs, meat, and some kind of fruit or vegetable at every meal. I didn't stress about the fruits and vegetables. I don't want to eat like broccoli and cauliflower, so I don't eat it. I'd rather have something, like pineapples or bananas or carrots and celery or something like that. So I just chose a bunch of different things and just kind of combined them. And it seemed that worked incredibly well. The most important thing is you get in that habit. And I did that for a long time. It became like, even when I went out to eat with my buddies, I just would never have the carbs. I would just have the steak and like whatever vegetables they had, or a salad or something like that. So 260 pounds, I don't know how old you are, but and you're 6 foot is probably way too big. I'll be completely honest. And obviously you recognize that. And the thing too is, make sure, don't try to lose 30 pounds in a month or something. You might lose a bunch of weight fairly quickly, but take it like a 12-month or 2-year or 24-month project. So the slower you lose the weight, the better off you're going to be, and the longer you're going to keep it off. The quicker you lose it, the quicker you're going to put it back on. As far as how much water to drink per day, I know everyone says a gallon. I don't drink a gallon of water a day. I just be peeing all the time. I really don't want to be peeing all the time. So I don't know how much water. I would probably say maybe, I don't know, probably, he's got this water bottle. I'll probably drink 5 of these a day or something. And then I have some diet sodas and coffee and stuff. I know coffee doesn't count, but whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I would probably say for each meal, maybe drink one of these. That might make things easier. So maybe you eat 4 or 5 times a day. And the other thing too, the one thing I would probably do is learn that when you're starting to feel full, satiated, I guess, just stop eating. Even if you haven't eaten all your meal, just put it away and learn how to say no, just like Nancy Reagan told us. Oh my God, what a disaster of a plan, huh? Just say no. All right, here says, hope you have a great college football season. Well, I'm not playing college football anymore, but I hope it's a good season. He says, I guess my team is Notre Dame. My dad played baseball in the late 50s, early 60s at Angelo State. I played football at that establishment. All right, there you go. I'm more looking forward, obviously, to high school football season. I feel like I got some skin in the game, so to speak. So, yeah, college football, I mean, that Texas-Ohio State game is going to be insane. I couldn't even tell you who could win that game. There's just so many. Ohio State's just not returning many people, especially on defense and offense. So, all right. KRG says, all right, here we go. So after a gut check workout, I've had those. I've realized I need to work on my GPP and cardio. I'm thinking about lifting 1 time a week and the rest of the time doing walrus and cardio sessions. What are your thoughts on this? Boss. There you go. All right, so there's a couple things to unpack. Understanding lifting weights is part of your general physical preparedness. So people have to understand it's not just like riding a bike or dragging a sled, okay? It accompanies all the basic fitness needs, and that would, for example, be like mobility work. It would be strength work. It would be hypertrophy work, agility, all that jumping, all that stuff is part of your general physical preparedness. Now, you don't need to do all that stuff, but just understand that if you're a football player or a sport athlete or a police officer, lifting is part of your general physical preparedness. It's just generally getting your body better. So what I generally do with people who have low GPP, and most people do. That's the number one thing that we try to raise with the football team, or when I have kids. I got a kid coming in today. I'm going to show him what we do to just raise GPP. And one of the things we do is and you can read about this in the Forever book, but we've made a lot of changes within that of the Krypteia style training. We generally do that. We pick one main lift, and we pepper it with assistance work, and we keep on a timer. And what you do, we try to keep the timer fairly reasonable, but I will never have someone do a lift when they're tired or they're not ready. So if that workout has to extend a little bit, that's fine. But we generally get to a point where we'll be able to do the 10 sets of the main lift and 10 sets of assistance, and you can set that up. We usually choose three to four assistance exercises within there. We eventually, not all the time, we work up to a pace where we finish in about 30 minutes. Now there's obviously room, if you're doing like a single leg movement, it's going to take longer and stuff like that. And it depends on what we do rep wise on the main lift. Obviously, if you're doing higher reps, it's going to take longer. But I think that's the number one thing. So I would probably do that twice a week. I wouldn't worry about lifting terribly heavy weights, because that will come when you raise your general physical preparedness. I have the kids that I work with, if we're going to be working 6 weeks, the first 2 weeks are absolute hell for them. They're not handling heavy weights. They're fucking tired. They're a little bit run down, I'll be honest. I don't try to, but they're just tired. And eventually, once their GPP and just general conditioning and fitness, I guess, levels raise, we do that. Again, we don't focus on the weight lifted. We focus on doing great work in the weight room. Their everything goes up because they're in just better shape. They put on some muscle, and they use a lot of variety within the assistance work. So that's my thing. What I would choose 2 lifting days. It'd be one main lift would be upper body, so bench, let's say, and one would be lower body, and let's just say squat. And then you would do a Krypteia style training program. Again, just focused on doing good work. It may take you 45 minutes. It may take you an hour. I don't know, but that time needs to come down. So you just get in better shape. All right. So again, I discuss a lot of this on the forum about some of the stuff that I do with some of the older kids. We farted around with it a little bit at London this past week, because I had smaller groups. I only had like 20 kids at a time, which is super easy to train, and you can individualize all just have to watch. So that's what I would do. And then the other days, if you're really feel like your just conditioning level's low, I would do, let's say you lift 2 days a week, I would probably do 2 or 3 days. Like zone 2 stuff for 45 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever you're capable of doing. And then maybe kind of one fun hard workout with like a prowler or hills or something that's a little more intense. You can do bike sprints. It doesn't have to be that workout. It's not very long. But I think that would be good too. So for example, if you're going to use the Airdyne bike, you would do 10 10-second sprints. And then your rest will depend on what you can handle, but that would be the goal. 10 all out 10-second sprints. You may only have to do, can do 5. I don't know, but let's just pretend it's 10 for it. So that would just be 1 day a week. That would be a very simple workout, very short workout. It might take you 10 minutes, may take you 15. So that's what I would recommend. 2 lifting days, Krypteia style, 3 zone 2 styles, 1 kind of hard day of conditioning, and just let your body slowly get into shape, guys. I'm telling you, that's when I take the kids through some of these training sessions. Again, the first 2 weeks might be a little difficult, but oh my God, do they get better. So, okay, Joe Hallman, I recognize the name. Oh, I just lost my spot. Man, do I lose my spot here? Okay, here we go. He says, hey, Jim, in season, when you're doing 5-through-1 with your team, the last set, you're doing reps. It will depend, Joe. So if the kids are looking good and everything's solid and everyone's healthy, yeah, but we will usually cap the reps. Obviously, if you're a JV player, we will do a little harder training. If you're a two-way player, then we're going to cut it a little short. Generally speaking, my in-season training is done in 3 smaller groups, so obviously it's much easier to work with kids individually and look. So if a kid's kind of looking down and out, something's just wrong, then we just cap the reps real low and we just call it a day. Or we will just lower the weight and whatever. You get the point. So are we going to go up and do an all-out set? Sometimes yes, but when it's not appropriate, if they just look run down, we just don't do it. We live to fight another day. The most important thing, Joe, is you get in, you get quality work in. It doesn't have to be ball-busting, insane work. All right, so basically a season is 10 games plus the playoffs. You got time. All right, the key is get in there and do good work. As long as the kids are solid and everything is looking good, you can go ahead and push a little bit. But listen, the most important thing is whether you're an athlete or, a fighter or a police officer or whatever, the most important thing is the job. And the job in high school football is on Friday. You have to be physically ready on Friday. So you don't want to do anything during the week that's going to screw them up. That's super important to understand. I'm never going to let my ego as a strength coach take over. So like, oh shit, all our kids deadlifted 500. Well, that's great, but on Friday, everyone's tired. That doesn't make any sense to me, and you have to understand that. So the other thing is with our upper body work, we just do a lot of high rep bodybuilding stuff. The kids love to do it, and I always want the kids to feel like they're dudes out there. So we don't really do a lot of heavy work on the bench. We do a lot of reps. Everyone's getting pumped up. Everyone's looking awesome today. So I hope that answers your question. It's not exactly probably, you have to do it, because it doesn't work like that. All right, here we go. Grady Baxley says, good morning, boss. Good morning, Grady. Grady, are you the singer for Will Haven? Just kidding. All right. He says, thank you for this forum. I appreciate it, Grady. You have helped me so much getting my training on point. Quick question. Do the pull-ups and dips done between lifts count towards assistance work? 100%. That all counts. Yes. I'll give you an answer. Like we did on Wednesday, we did trap bar work. Our kids did 10 total sets of trap bar after their warm-ups. Some of the kids, not all of the kids, did pull-ups and dips in between their sets of trap bar. And so by the time we got done with our 10 sets, each of those kids did 5 sets of dips and 5 sets of pull-ups. That was their assistance work for the day. We had several kids finish, well, almost all the kids except for 2 finished in 22 minutes or something. And they were doing sets of 10 on the dips, even with some weight, and body weight was sets of 10 on the pull-ups. So it was an impressive workout. So the answer is yes, Grady, 100%. Raymond Kane says, best wishes from Ireland. Have a great weekend. Thank you very much, Raymond. I've said this before, but I got to spend about a week in Ireland. It's one of the most memorable trips I've ever taken. The people of, I know I was in the Dublin area. So it was one of the best times of my life. The people there were unbelievable, not just the people, the gym that hosted me, but the people I met, obviously in the many bars that I went to. Unbelievable time, very polite, absolute hilarious. Me and one of the guys from the seminar and some guys we met in the bar were doing football blocking, pass blocking, run blocking. We just separated some of the tables and we were just bashing each other. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was not done in any like a mean sort of way. We were just having an absolute blast and I absolutely loved it. The other thing I thought was really cool is when we went to a lot of the bars, they had a band playing there and it was all done like traditional style Irish music. And I thought that was really cool as a way of, keeping the Irish culture alive and not crapping on it. So I thought that was really fun. And I'll tell you the other thing, Raymond, good Lord, can those people drink? Oh my Lord. Whew. I thought I could drink. Oh man. Okay, Alan Arahu. I'm sure I butchered that, Alan. I apologize. He says, hey Jim, could you please recommend some dumb leg exercises? All right, so I think everyone needs to kind of get their legs in stupid shape, and that's stupid strength, all that stuff. That's what I learned when I was a kid. We did a ton of hill sprints because that's what Walter Payton did. We did squatting, lunges and all that other stuff, but we always did a lot of hill work. Absolutely love it. So here are some ideas. Obviously, hill sprints or walking up and down a hill or walking up and down a hill with a weight vest. Same could be said with stairs, climbing stairs. That's what I did today. Again, that could be running, it could be walking if that's appropriate, or walking with a weight vest. Doesn't have to be terribly heavy. The most obvious weight room stuff would be like a hack squat, a power squat, or a leg press. And again, that should be done as heavy as you can for super high reps, just getting your legs like stupid strong, not just doing sets of 8 to 10. Start pushing for 30, 40, 50, doing some of that dumb stuff, or doing a ton of sets, ton of volume. Walking lunges with or without a weight vest, I would not. I mean, you can put a barbell on your back, but you gotta have something that allows you just to go crazy. An easy way of doing it, as an example, is working up to like a quarter mile with just body weight or a 20-pound vest, and just doing that maybe once or twice a week. Hell, if you really want to get crazy, you could do some kind of walking lunge challenge where maybe you do a quarter mile 3 days a week, or a quarter mile every day for a week, or something like that. The key with the dumb leg exercises, I want to take the technique out of it. So you're just kind of pushing and doing dumb stuff. Now, yes, I understand there's like technique to lunges, but it's much different than putting a barbell on your back. So anything that just kind of takes out and just kind of forces you to train your legs, you don't have to worry about technique and form. So those would be the big ones. I'm sure I missed. Hell, step ups with a weight vest on for high reps. That will smoke your legs. And again, I did a lot of I don't know exactly, it's probably 16-inch box, but we farted around with some higher boxes, 18 to 20 inches, and oh my God, do your legs get tired quickly. And the key is to do either a total amount, obviously, let's say 200 or 300 per leg, or doing up to a certain amount without stopping and just having a good rhythm. That will smoke your legs too. So just get your legs and lungs in great shape. The stronger your legs, the stronger your lungs, not just one RM, but just generally stronger, the better off you're going to be. Okay. Okay, Paul Hulk says, my girlfriend has started to notice results from me being more consistent with 5 through 1 and want to start training with me. Are there any considerations I should keep in mind with her, volume or intensity? All right, so the big difference, right? You can't say this, but I'm going to say it. Between men and women, when you train them in general, right? In general, is women can do a lot more reps at a percentage than men can. And that really skews if a man is super high, very explosive, let's just say that. For example, let's say you're at 90% of your max, right? Most guys can hit around 3. The more explosive you are, it's going to be less. It's a weird thing, right? Women and generally can do 6 to 7 reps at 90%. And so this skews all the way around. So just understand that. So for example, let's pretend that you bench pressed 270 for 3 reps. All right, you're probably about a 300-pound bencher. All right. Now let's say your girlfriend deadlifts 270 for 6 or 7 reps. You think she's going to deadlift, I don't know what the number is. Let's say 325 or something like that. The reality is it's probably 300. So that's the main thing. So you don't really have to change anything. Just understand that just because she did, 165 pounds for 6 doesn't mean she's going to be able to do 190 or something like that. So that's the only thing. The other thing is make sure with the assistance work, and she's doing stuff she wants to do. Girls tend to like to do different shit than the guys do. So just understand that. The final thing, so if she wants to do like glute work, right? Girls love doing that shit. Just let her do it. It's important, all right? It's important that she does some stuff that she wants to do. So that goes for kids or anyone. It doesn't really matter. The other thing is make sure you're not just focused on the weight lifted, that you're building some muscle. And it's going to be harder for her to build muscle, obviously, right? Because she doesn't have a ton of testosterone flowing through her. So that would be the other thing, is it's going to be a lot slower because she's going to be slower to gain muscle. The most important thing, in my estimation, most people need to put a little muscle on their body. So just be cognizant of that. And of course, she's going to freak out, right? I'm not going to get too muscular, right? So, but that would be something I would make sure that, so she's going to have to be a little more patient and just, again, have some fun with the assistance work, guys. Training need not be so rote about everything that you do, guys. I can't stress that enough. I like to have my main lift kind of scheduled out a little bit, and then everything else, man, have some fun. If that means like, fuck, dude, I'm doing a bench press workout, you don't have to do all these different things afterwards. If you just want to, like, listen, I'm just going to do pull-ups and dips for 30 minutes. I'm just going to smoke. Man, do it. If you just want to do heavy rows or something like that, do it. Have some fun, guys. It drives me nuts that people are afraid to kind of riff a little bit. Have some fun. Christopher Jones says, hey, I've been trying my 15-year-old skinny as a rail son using 5-3-1 as well. I noticed he could barely get the recommended last set with a 90% training max. I never had that problem. Dropped him to 85% now. That's normal. That's completely normal. He's going to suffer just like young women do. That's just the way it goes. So what you do, Christopher, don't worry about have him lift the weights he's able to do correctly. So I don't ever base anything, and I understand this is, I've been doing this a long time. I don't do any percentages. I watch a kid lift and I figure out what that weight is in relation to where I want him to be. That's all I do. So I don't worry if it's a percentage. So for example, let's say he can do 150 for 5 reps. Or that's, I don't know, I'm just 135 for 8. So what I would do is, that's about where I would want him, the bare minimum, to be on his final set on the 5-3-1 week. So you just take 135, you can fart around, this is an easy way to do it, 135, you divide that by 0.95, it'll give you your training max, okay? Number 2 is, I don't ever raise the kid's training maxes until I'm 1,000% sure, without a doubt that he's able to do every single rep as perfect as possible. If I see one rep that's shitty, we just repeat. I'm not in the business to put to add weight to the bar just to add weight to the bar so I feel like the kids are getting stronger or to satisfy their ego. I do not give a shit. My job is to make them better football players. And if that means repeating sessions, then that's what's going to happen. Okay, I can't stress that enough. I watch kids lift all the time. They're able to do a weight, for let's say 10 good reps, or 10 reps, I should say, and they're just wobbling over. To me, that is 1,000% not acceptable. It has to be done fucking perfect all the time, because you have to own every single weight that you're given. It would be a disservice for me to add weight to the bar. I just think that's irresponsible. And I say this to the kids, I will never load you with a bar in your hands or on your back that I don't have 1,000% confidence that you can do correctly. All right. And I say, this is the same way I would want my son to be trained by a coach. So I offer that to them too. They may not like it. I know they don't like it because, I can do more. Well, great. I've told this story before. We had a kid come in. His training maxes were painfully low because he just can't squat correctly. It's, so he tells me after a couple weeks, I know I can do more. I said, all right, let me watch this set. Let me see how you do. He gets up on the bar. He takes the bar off. The the knurling in the middle of the bar is all the way on one of his shoulders. So the bar is like this. I stop him. I bring out his friends. I said, tell me what you think is wrong with this. All right, this is the kid's best effort. And the bar is completely on one side. All right, so the kids have to show that they have competence, not just with the weight, but that, doing all the little shit, loading the barbell correctly, stuff like that. So, Christopher, do not be in a rush to add weight to the barbell. Be patient. And I am telling you, this works, and it may take some time, but I see it with James and I see it with the kids I work with. Be patient. It will pay off. All right. You're just going to have to put your ego aside. And so if the kids are bitching, they don't get to determine what's on the bar. I do. So that's my advice to you. And the other thing, Christopher, don't just do the main lifts. Make sure they're getting good at the assistance. This in season for the freshmen, incoming freshmen, the most important things we're tracking during the season are push-ups, chin-ups, and dumbbell squats. And I told them that it's gonna be a smoke session. But I will not have those kids come out in their sophomore year not being able to do as many pull-ups, 20 pull-ups and at least 50 push-ups. To me, that's unacceptable if you can't do that. So, and obviously do 50 for 50 on the dumbbell squat. But all right, here we go. Matthew Julian says, hey, I just had surgery to repair a torn hip labrum. All right. It sucks to sit out for a few months, but it is what it is. Yep. Cleared for upper body, though. As long as it's seated or lying down, I'm going to take that slow. Priority now at 32 with the baby coming is longevity and strength, not chasing numbers. If that means box squats and step ups, that's okay. There are many ways to be awesome. You are correct. How I lost my place here, buddy, because some of these questions are separated. Question for the people. All right, here we go. What can someone do to maintain as much strength and mass as they can while rehabbing from a surgery and can't train legs? So if anyone has any suggestions for Matthew about, again, he has surgery on his hip. He can't do much lower body. How do they maintain as much strength and mass as they can while rehabbing from a surgery and can't train legs? So if anyone has any recommendations, let us know. And I'll answer that question in a little bit. I'll just do it now. Listen, you're going to lose strength and muscle mass. There's just no two ways around it. So what I would do is I wouldn't worry about that. I would just worry about getting that healthy. All right. You know, you already said that your main goal is not chasing weights. But at the same time, you're kind of paranoid about that. Who cares? You're going to be fine. In fact, after just give yourself a year from the time that you can start training again to get back to where you need to be. That's 12 months. That's going to be fine. So what I would do is I would probably train 3 days a week, all upper body stuff. I would obviously bench. I would probably incline, and I would probably, my main lift would also be seated overhead press. I would probably body build 2 of those and train the bench kind of heavier. And then I would do full body, upper body work, you know, changing the exercises on each of those days. But I would just bomb the shit out of the upper body, man. So again, I do probably inclines and overhead press, high reps, you know, obviously not super high reps, but just kind of body build the shit out of that. And then make sure you're hitting all the assistance work, especially for machines. If you don't have a gym, I would join a gym so you can do all the hammer strength stuff and just bomb the shit out of it. So, but don't be worried about that. It's going to happen, man. Don't worry about it. You're going to be, once you get cleared and you feel good, you're going to be chomping at the bit. All right. I guess the other thing is make sure you're eating correctly. Make sure you're not eating a lot of crap, not getting too fat. You know, you keep your protein up, and hell, I mean, if you can get your hands on something to maintain your high testosterone levels, I would do that too. So that's the honest to God truth. So, all right. But Matthew, the point is, don't worry about it. It's out of your control. Just get healthy, get big upper top, and you'll be fine. Okay, Jose Enrique Feti Farina says, hey, Jim, what are the pros and cons of spreading a 5-3-1 cycle throughout 2 weeks, like in the Cryptea 2 days a week? Well, the pros are that's what you have access to. I don't see any cons, I'll be honest. If you're training hard and that's what your schedule can accommodate, I don't see any cons because that's what you have to do. There are no cons. Again, your training has to fit your lifestyle, so that means you can only train twice a week. Make it work. Don't worry about the cons or anything like that. Oh, I'm not doing this and that. I guarantee you I can train someone 2 days a week and they will be 1,000% fine, the way that, especially when you start screwing around with the Cryptea style training. I'm telling you, it's full body both those days, and you will get strong and you will get big as long as you're eating and sleeping. So the pros are it fits in within your lifestyle, and that's what's most important. All right, V Calf says, hey Jim, what are your thoughts on taking 3 to 4 weeks off without formal training once a year? For example, in August after a full year of consistent training. That's what you want to do. I don't know. I probably would do something on those weeks, right? Do some walking, some hiking, stuff like that. I'd probably do stuff that I don't normally do, but if I had, like, my shoulder was a little sore or tired, I would probably take off from doing anything like that, but I would still have to do something. I think it's too much of a habit for me not to do anything. Even with my back injury, I was always doing something at least once a day, if not more times a day. So if that's what you need in your brain and stuff, but for me, I like having a habit of keeping physical activity in my life. So that's up to you, man. Andy Lynn says, happy Friday, boss. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. Just popping by before getting back to my work stuff. As always, I hope you and the family have an awesome weekend. He says, I know I did with a good 185 for 3 bench and 50 or so chin-ups and 3-kilometer run lined up tonight. Okay. All right. So Andy, I appreciate that, man. So this weekend, just Andy, congratulations. You got a hell of a weekend. All right. And you have a birthday week deadlift challenge. All right. So this weekend, I got a kid going into the officer cadet or officer training school coming by today. I'm going to work with him a little bit on showing him stuff that I think will help him. And then my good friend Joey Waters is coming by, and we're going to play some music and watch movies and do absolutely nothing. So it's going to be a good weekend here at the Wendler house. It's going to be a loud weekend, that's for sure. Zach Glazer. Okay. Says, hey Jim, I work out 3 times a week walrus style. If I incorporate a sled push pull, how far or heavy would you suggest I go in my workouts? So there's a couple ways you can do this, Zach. You can replace the lower body work, right, with the sled push or pull. Usually I do about 30 to 40 yards. As far as heavy, it just depends on how I feel that day. So if I'm feeling kind of tired and run down, I'll just keep it kind of light, but it will still suck, trust me. Other times, I will do one consistent weight through all of it, so be kind of medium heavy. That will really run you down. If it's super heavy, I will shorten the distance to maybe 25 or 30. And usually when I do like that, I work up. So the first set or first 2 sets might be 1 plate, then the second 2, 3 and 4 might be 2 plates, and then another 2 would be 3 plates, stuff like that. So I don't think I can really tell you exactly what to do, but either have a lightweight, a medium weight, and a heavyweight, and just, that you can put on the prowler and see, usually between 25 and 40 yards. All right. Now you can always start pushing boundaries and just go fairly heavy for maybe every set and do it for 40 yards, but you're going to pay a price. It's going to be tiring and the workout's going to take longer. The other thing you can do is just do your standard walrus work and afterwards do some kind of sled pushing or pulling. And I usually do that for about a half mile. That's the distance around the street around our house. So we'll do it afterwards and do it as kind of a separate style training. I love doing that stuff. I usually do it with a friend or some kid I'm coaching, and we'll do, obviously if it's 2 of us, we'll usually do 2 laps, and we'll just absolutely hate life. So, but it's one of the best things I think you can do. So there's a couple options for you, man. Enjoy it. Have some fun with the sled. A lot of times I'll just do prowler push. A lot of times I'll do sled backwards and forwards. Other times I'll push the prowler and then drag it backwards with straps. So there's a million things you can do. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just push or pull. That's the most important thing. All right, Tim Gudekunst. It says, good morning, Jim. Thank you for taking the time to do these. Thank you, Tim. My question is there anything in the Forever book that you wouldn't recommend anymore, any program? No, because I used all of them and we screwed around, or at least I screwed around with them, so not really. It just depends on what you want to do, Tim. Obviously, not every program's for everyone, right? I'm not going to put James on a more advanced style training program, right? Because he's 13 years old, and if you're a 60-year-old guy, you're not going to be maxing out all the time or doing anything. So there's not really, in fact, you could say this for just about every training program in the world, regardless if it's 5 through 1 or not. It just depends on whether it's correct for you. So the answer is no, but not everything is for everyone. Canada First says, can I call you Kratos? You remind me of him with that beard for real. I don't even know who Kratos is. So, as long as it's not, I don't know, I don't know. Maybe it sounds like a Greek god or something. Definitely not a Greek god. But yeah, I guess you can call me Kratos if that makes you feel good. Brandon Fink says, hey, split squats with the yoke bar was my dumb leg for today. There you go. The yoke bar is one of the best high level dumb bars you can use, because you just kind of have to hang on, but it still requires a little bit of technique, so you got to be smart about that. So there you go. All right, here we go. Jesse Driscoll, Squad RX, says there's only 53 people watching. It doesn't. What are you going to do? Listen, this is not terribly exciting. I just like doing these, so just trying to help. So, all right. So Jesse Driscoll says, hey, beyond 5 through 1, I've been using the 75-85 template as a busy dad. I feel like that works best for me. Would you change anything from that template in 2025? Honestly, I would probably recommend using the 5-3-1 Prilipin that we kind of worked on the forum. That's, I think, a little bit better. But if that's working for you, Jesse, I would 1,000% keep on doing it. That's the only thing I would probably do. Yeah, it falls in line with that kind of idea, the 75-85. So yeah, that's probably the only thing I would recommend, so to speak. Okay. Joe Hallman says, in season with your high school team, when you do the 5-3-1, are you doing plus sets on the last set of each one? All right, Joe, we already answered this question. I'll answer it again. In season, the answer is it depends. Some weeks we are, some weeks we don't. Some kids do, some kids don't. I'm in there. And again, we have usually 3 groups. I have 3 in-season groups, so the groups are fairly small, maybe 20 kids or something like that. So depending on how the kids look, sometimes we will do the plus sets, but we usually cap them regardless, depending on what week we're doing and how I see the kids are doing. So not always. And if the kids are really run down, maybe they had 2 or 3 games that were super tired, maybe the practices are going a little longer, then we will not do the plus sets. So Joe, again, the training in the weight room has to complement what we do on Friday nights. I cannot tire out the kids on Monday and Wednesday, so on Friday they're tired. They need to be feeling awesome on Friday. That's my entire goal. All right, that doesn't mean you handle your training with baby gloves. It just, I know how much our kids can train. That's the reason why we train so hard in the off season and so consistent, is we're able to train harder during the in season. But at the same time, I will only ask kids to do what their bodies are ready to do that day. All right, you can't force that stuff. So that's super important to understand. So am I doing plus sets? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You just have to make a call. And if you don't know what to do, don't do the plus sets. Because the power of training is in the consistency, not on that one single set that you do that one day. That's super important to remember, guys. The power is in the consistency. All right, here we go. Oh boy, I'm not even gonna write. Priya. I'll just say that. How's that? I just lost my spot again. Son of a bitch. Okay, it says, hey, what do you think of doing accessory work in the high intensity fashion, Mike Menser style, one set to failure? Man, go ahead and give it a rip. I think it'd be fun to do. Maybe not even doing it every exercise, but maybe 2 or 3. I think would be super fun. So what do I think? I think it's an option. I don't think you need to do it all the time, but if it feels like something you want to do, 100% go do it. 100%. James Welton says, how long does it take you to track all your athletes' weights and log them, trying to find a balance? Any thoughts on having athletes log their own weights? So they just write down whatever reps they got on their sheet. And when we get them new sheets, I look at the sheet and I adjust their training maxes based on that. So whenever we make new sheets, it does take, I don't know, maybe an hour or something, because they got a lot of kids, and I just make sure. But I don't track every single weight. We only do it. So if, for example, James, if we're not going to do a plus set, they don't have to write anything down. Okay. Does that make sense? If we're going to kind of test and kind of see where they're at, then yes, they have to write it down. The kids know beforehand. I would not in any way have the athletes log their own weights. They can do it on their own, but good God, I couldn't imagine having to look at that chicken scratch. It drives me nuts. And the chances of them doing it and being consistent with it are nil. So I don't have any other sheets laying around here, but it's just a very simple sheet, the same one that you see in the 5-3-1 book. That's the exact one that we use. And so if their final set is 200 pounds, if I ask them to log it, they'll just did 200 for 10 or something. They write it on there, and then I have a record of it, and then I adjust based on what I see. So I don't track any of their assistance work. That's expected for them to push themselves hard, because I think the kids need to have at least some ownership of what they do. So, some guy named Fried Chicken says, hello. Well, man, fried chicken, one of my top 5 foods of all time, if done correctly. Unbelievable. That's why me and Rhodes and Vincent love our Popeyes. Popeyes is good chicken, if it's done correctly, of course. So I'm sure there's amazing places out there, especially in the South. Good Lord, they have some good fried chicken out there. All right. Zhao Shin Lu says, I apologize if I did not say that one correctly. He says, hey, Jim, my knees hurt at the bottom of a squat. And it clicks a lot, but I'm fine after a quick warm-up. Do you have any experience with this? And have you found any supplements that can help? I'm not, maybe fish oils, but it'd probably take a long time to kind of kick in. I know there's like all these joint formulas, but I haven't found anything that really helps. I'll just be honest. There are 2 things I think you need to do. Is you need to do some kind of extensive kind of, like, it doesn't have to be extensive, some kind of warm up other than lifting. One of the best things for my knees was just riding a bike, just 5 or 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be super hard, but don't just do this. Get some blood flowing in your legs and stuff like that. The other thing would be doing some kind of warm up, such as the Agile 8 before your training, especially rowing your IT bands. A lot of times helps knee pain. And the final thing I would do if I were you is I'd wear knee sleeves. Knee sleeves are an absolute game changer for me. As I'll give you an example, if for I think it's like 2.5 to 3 months, so that's 90 days, let's say. Is that right? 3 months, 90 days. I did 500 body weight squats or 500 squats with the weight vest every single day for like 3 months. My knees never hurt at all. If I did 100 body weight, and I always wore knee sleeves, always. If I did 100 body weight squats with no knee sleeves, my knees would be killing me. It is a absolute game changer. They do not need to be super tight. They just got to be kind of snug. So when you pull them up, it's not going to cut off your circulation or anything. But it can't be super loose. But I'm telling you, that is a game changer for me. So there's no reason for your knees to hurt if you have access to knee sleeves. I'm telling you that right now. For me, it was a game changer. And just make sure you get some movement in your body. You're not just, starting with an empty bar, man. Sit in that bottom squat position. Do some, we call them, what do we call them? High mountain climbers, stuff like that, where your body's kind of moving a little bit. Your knees are kind of moving. Groiners work quite well. Jumping rope might help. Doing some lunges before it. Again, doesn't have to be super like deep or anything like that. Just kind of get your body worked up a little bit. So get some blood flowing through your calves and your quads and your hamstrings, and get your knees bending. So I don't know about any supplements though, but I can tell you knee sleeves and proper warm up will help you quite a bit. I don't know what this means here. I have been having leg pain at my femur. What is the reason for that? I have no idea, Mr. Fried Chicken. I also do 7 kilogram weighted squats. All right, so I think you're just trolling me. If you have pain in your femur, Fried Chicken, I highly recommend you go see a doctor. That's well out of my... I may have gone to school for a lot of time, but I'm not a doctor. Matthew Julian says, thanks for the reply, Jim. The upper body training I'm doing while I rehab my hip is exactly what you described. Hundreds of reps of curls, triceps, and side raises this morning after chins. There you go. JBJ says, hey, Jim, we are still begging for the Walrus book. I appreciate that. How many do I have to pre-order to get you motivated? 5 million. No, I'm just joking. I don't know. It'll be done when it's done. That's one thing I've learned. I don't really put timelines on that stuff. How do I put this? I just worry about the daily work. I don't worry about the end goal. Just like with training, the most important thing, I got this, I'm sure a lot of people have said, have this kind of attitude. I don't worry about whether or not we make the playoffs. I only worry about this day's training and getting through and making sure it's perfect. It's like Bill Belichick once said, they asked him about, after all these Super Bowl wins and all this stuff, what's your next goal? And he said, I just want to have a great practice on Monday. And I love that. So just focus on that's what I do. I just focus on the task at hand, and when it's done, it's done. So Bill Coyne says, hey, happy Friday, boss. Thank you, Bill. He says, have you listened to Stomach, the new sludge band from Weekend Nachos frontman? I have not. I do have his other band, Ledge. If you haven't checked that out, it's super sludged out heaviness. And I think it's got a lot of guys from Weekend Nachos playing on it, which I think is kind of funny. So yeah, I will check that out, Bill. I appreciate that. Stomach. Awesome. Jesse McGill says, hey, Jim, any new wrinkles to the Red Raiders train this year? Yeah, I screwed around with a couple things. We're going to make some changes, I think, next year. I just have to figure it out. So, yeah, the hardest thing, Jesse, is training 60 people at one time. That's a very difficult prospect. And a lot of those kids, like if it's one-on-one, training 1 or 10 kids at a time is the easiest thing in the world for me to do, because you can just look and make changes. 60 kids at once is bananas. And so I don't get to do everything I want to do, because not every kid understands it. Can't keep eyes. So yeah, we're going to do next year. We're going to, especially at the start of the off season, we're going to do some different stuff. Whether or not they're going to work, I don't know. I don't feel like very comfortable in sharing that, because a lot of it hasn't been fleshed out, and I don't know if it's going to work. So all I know is my goal is to get these kids with as much muscle and the highest rates of GPP in the world. That's my only goal, and I know kind of how to do it. I just don't know how I can do it on a big scale, and that's very difficult. So yes, there will be this upcoming part of the off season, or part of the in season for the JV, and then obviously for the in season, or off season next year. So Zach Harris says, hello, the sled at my gym is always busy. Wow, that's amazing. I almost never get to use. Can I do farmer carry with trap bar as a replacement for this cardio work? I mean, you can do it, Zach, right? It's not the same thing at all. You're carrying a weight versus dragging a weight. It's completely different muscles. And the sled is one of the greatest things you can do, whether you're young or old, because you don't get terribly sore. It doesn't require a tremendous amount of form. And you just kind of load it and train heavy. That's one of the best things about getting older, is get yourself a prowler and a sled or whatever. And so yes, can you do it? But it's not a replacement in any way. So don't think that. Here we go. Squat RX says, so true. Light knee sleeves are magic. I guess it's just a proprioception thing. I don't know why. So who knows? Zaushin Lu says, thanks, Jim. What are your training plans this weekend? Again, I have one of my good friends is driving in from Kentucky, so we're going to play a little bit. I always probably train at least once or twice a day. I always do my rehab stuff. I'll probably do some stadium stuff, and I'll do some push-ups, chin-ups, rows, some sleds probably stuff. Depends on what Joey wants to do. But yeah, it's the same thing, man. I'm just trying to get my body feeling good. It's been a long uphill battle. Oh my God. I don't wish this pain on anyone. 100%. So yeah, listen, it would be very easy for me to be discouraged and have a bad attitude, but to me, that's just a waste of time. So I will overcome this. I will be fine. So I don't need any. God damn, this fucking pain is overwhelming. I try not to complain about it, but good Lord. All right, we ran out of questions, so we will be able to get out of here early. So if anyone has any more questions, Jesse McGill, I should probably say, I'm not comfortable sharing what we're going to do, not because it's a big secret, Jesse. Just, I don't know how exactly I'm going to do it. But the goal is always higher amounts of muscle mass, higher rates of GPP, and always be efficient and not waste time. Those are always my things. So with anyone I'm working with. Dan B says, hey Jim, just wondering, how would you program rotating lifts? I get beat up doing the same exercise. Where am I? Oh, so that, Oh, well, that question just got taken away. I apologize. Zhao Shenlu says, is it still the pain from the bike accident? Yeah, it's one of the many things that my body, yeah, it's part of it. Let's just say that. I remember I was driving from Ohio to my parents' house in Illinois, and I was with my wife. This is right after the bike accident, maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks after. And I was still all bandaged up, and we stopped to get gas, get a fucking Monster or whatever we were drinking. And some ladies, I look like a mummy. And some lady's like, what happened to you? And I was like, well, I got hit by a car. And she's like, oh my God, you're so lucky. And I was like, lucky, the worst fucking luck in the world. I know what she was saying though, but I remember thinking, this is lucky? I could barely fucking move right now. Okay. Ivan says, overhead press day after the stream. Do you have any words of encouragement? Dude, it's overhead press day. It's the easiest day. My encouragement is after you overhead press and do something awesome, either pick chin-ups or any kind of chin-ups, pull-ups, and pick either dips or push-ups or both, and give me 200 dips and push-ups and 100 pull-ups. And just smoke. Just get a giant pump, get big, get pumped up. That's my words of encouragement. Okay, so here's the question that got kind of cut off. I apologize. It says, wondering how you might program rotating lifts with 5-through-1. I get beat up doing the same exercises after a month or two. So there's a couple things here. Is one, whatever you're doing, Dan, you're going to, in my estimation, you're going to have to change something. So I don't know if it's just rotating the lifts is going to do it for you. There's other issues that come into play. I hope that makes sense. So, but if you were, just rotate them so do one cycle with, whatever lifts, and then do the next cycle with the other lifts, and just have different training maxes for them. That's 100% what I would do. And I wouldn't, go crazy with obviously don't go crazy with the training maxes and stuff, but that's what I would do. But I'm telling you, Dan, I think there's something bigger playing there, and whether or not it's volume or intensity, I don't know, or just general well-being. So I would probably look at that before I would look at just rotating the lifts. But again, if you were going to rotate, just do cycle, just rotate the cycle. So for example, if you're going to bench press on one cycle and then, I don't know, floor press the next cycle and then go back to bench, stuff like that. Super easy to do. The other thing is, I don't know what lifts are beating you up, so you may have to change those lifts. I've said this before, if I was going to go back and lift like a normal dude, so to speak, I would do all my squats with the safety squat bar, and I would do it on a above parallel box. I think that would be the best thing for my body. And I don't say that, this is, how do I put this? This is well before the bike accident and stuff like that. I just think it's in the other stuff that has popped up. So anyway, that's what I would recommend, Dan. Don't overthink it, man. Just 3 weeks here, 3 weeks here, whatever, one cycle here, one cycle here. But there's other stuff at play besides rotating lifts. Scruff McBuff says, if I was interested in GPP and hypertrophy, would you recommend adding wet reps or adding weight to dips and chins? Scruff McBuff, you can do both. You understand that, right? You don't have to choose just one, guys. I've said this a million times. Training is not Sophie's choice. You can add reps on some days, right? And then other days you can keep the reps the same or lower the reps and add weight. So yes, you can do both. You don't have to do just one, guys. Just like our kids, I'm going to tell you right now, when I work with people, guys, I don't just try to do this and this. We are trying to get bigger. We're trying to get stronger. We're trying to get in better shape, trying to get more mobile, faster, all that stuff. It all goes in. I don't just choose one. All right. So, but just like this, guys, you can do both. Just like you can bench press, right? You can kind of go heavy and then do some lighter stuff, right? You don't have to just choose one. All right. So my advice, Scruff McBuff, is one day do heavy chins and lighter dips, and then the other day do heavier dips and lighter chins or something like that. Or you can just use a 20-pound vest, for example, and do your dips and chins, and then the next day you use a 45-pound vest and just work it out like that. So, So how many sets of accessory work do you recommend for squats and deadlifts after the age of 40? How much sets of accessory work? All right, so this is a hard question to answer, right? I don't know. You said after the age of 40. I don't know how much experience you have. I don't know how beat up you are. There's a whole bunch of, you guys have to understand that there's a big difference between when I was 40 and then when a guy down the street who's never lifted weights is 40. Massive difference, right? I hope everyone understands this. Just like you have 13-year-old kids. I had a 13-year-old kid deadlift 255 for 5 reps like it was nothing one year. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the, how do you, I mean, I'm talking perfect technique and explosive, all right? So, and then I have 13-year-old kids who can't even get off the ground. They're so overweight. So there's a big difference, guys. So my general recommendation for this is after you do one main lift, now however you do the main lift is up to you. I generally recommend 2 to 4 assistance exercises, guys, and anywhere between generally 2 to 5 sets of each. All right. So obviously some things you can do less of and more of and stuff like that. So I don't know. So again, so let's say you squat and let's say you're just doing upper lower kind of thing. So maybe you squat and then you do a single leg movement for 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps. You do some kind of hamstring movement, let's say glute ham raises for 3 sets of 15. And then you do, I don't know, some kind of abdominal work for 100 total reps. So that's 3 exercises right there. And so it just depends on how you structure things, but generally 2 to 4 assistance exercises generally, and then you will do anywhere from 2 to 5 sets. And so just be smart about it. You don't have to run yourself into the ground, but the older you get, I think the less barbell work you should do. You should still do it as long as you can, but just let the volume accumulate with the assistance. You're very welcome, Scruff McBuffs. He says, hell yeah. Jim Perry says, hey, Jim, thanks for the tip about knee sleeves. I just knocked out 2 sets of bodyweight squats pain-free. I'm telling you, it is a life changer. There's no way I could have done any of the walrus stuff without knee sleeves. And I've already, and the other thing is the knee sleeves, the ones I sell, man, I just threw out like the other day, I threw out like 4 pairs of knee sleeves that I got that we were going to sell that just sucked. So just make sure that they fit. They have to be tight, but not super tight, right? So you don't have to roll them down between sets. But I'm telling you, it's an unbelievable thing. The other good thing about wearing knee sleeves when you're doing walrus work is when you're doing push-ups, you know, if you after your final set or final rep, you know, you can put your knee down on the ground and it doesn't hurt. That's like the old man way of, you know, if you don't jump right to your feet, right? So I think that's another thing that I love about knee sleeves. So, all right. Anything else, guys? I appreciate everyone stopping by. It's going to be an exciting but busy weekend here at the Wendler house, as we always try to keep our stress to a minimum. But it will be crazy and I believe Monday. I don't know what's going on. Everything is so chaotic sometimes. I just make sure I get my shit done each day. All right, we're going to go ahead and get going. So again, guys, thank you. Anyone who asked a question or watched or did anything, I appreciate you. Love you. As always, if you're going to do something awesome this weekend, do some kind of conditioning or some idiotic challenge. Stay safe, but push yourself physically and mentally. You will be a better person for it. Join the JimWendler.com forum. Awesome place for training information. It's $5 a month. Absolutely love being on there. I get on there probably 10 times a day, just making sure everything is going good and answering any questions I have. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.